And welcome back to the Manumet Podcast here with Glenn Johnson, your registered investment advisor. And I'm your host, Doug Turnbull, taking over for Jeff in recent times here, who's moved on to other things. But we want y'all to stay right here because we got so much to cover today talking about your best investment. And it may not be exactly what you think it is. jbezfinancial.com. jbezfinancial.com is where you could go to talk to Glenn and his team. jbezfinancial.com. And of course, podcast, you may be hearing it replay, share with you with a friend, but be sure to go past episodes and whatnot at the manumitpodcast.com, manumitpodcast.com, the manumitpodcast.com. Got to say the there. Glenn, hope you're having a great day today. I see a big smile on your face. How are you feeling and what's your mindset on this beautiful day?
Well, I'm doing great. You know, it's said that, I just thought of this, that Abe Lincoln made the statement, a man is about as happy as he makes up his mind to be. It's a decision. So when it's funny, I just thought of this. The last time I had an employer, I worked for a company out of England, and he called me up one day and he says, Glenn, how's it going? I said, great. He said, let me tell you something, Glenn. I don't think anybody can be that happy all the time. And I think it's just a front and it causes you not to be able to see reality. So I said, well, how about that? There's, and I look back and I thought, oh, you know what? At that point in life, he was going through a divorce and he was going through a lot of hardship. And so that's what we see, and what we respond to, we get more of. And so when we think about, do we want to have a better life? What are we thinking about? We control these thoughts. It makes a difference.
It really does. And someone could easily misperceive that to be like, okay, well, if I just think about wealth, if I just think about this, then I'm going to have it. It's like, no, the wealth itself is thinking that way, right?
Well, there's caring and there's caring for. People care about their money, but that doesn't mean they take care of it. That doesn't mean they actually take any action behind it. People will have the emotional experience of wanting more and trying to manifest more and trying to just have it suddenly appear. They want better friendships, better relationships, better health, and they'll spend all this time thinking about it. And in their thinking, they have the experience like they're really working hard at it, but they're accomplishing nothing.
And that's, the waste of time. You want but not care. I love you, but I'm not going to show you any affection, right? It's kind of I want something, but I'm not actually caring to do anything about it. So let's unpack this concept of your best investment, because if I hear a registered investment advisor tell me my best investment, my eyes turn green, my heart turns green. But I think there's something more to this there, Glenn.
That's right. But when we think about an investment that has a guaranteed return to it, initially when we think there's a guaranteed return, well, it can't be that much. Yeah. Well, when we think about what makes something valuable, it's been said, I know Robert Kiyosaki's talked about this a bunch of times, where he'll say savers are losers. And, and I spent some time thinking about that. I'm like, well, no, saving's an important concept, but what do you mean behind that? He said, well, if you're saving money goes down in value. A dollar doesn't buy what it used to. So if we're saving that dollar to have that dollar later in the future, it is actually a losing investment. And we know it going right into it from the start, knowing full well that this dollar is not going to be worth as much later.
Saving outside of investing, in other words.
Right. I mean, it's got to get better. We have to give it an assignment. It's got to grow. But what makes something valuable is its desirability and its scarcity. So really, what makes the best investment out there is actually in people. I say that because the older we get, the more valuable we become, because our lives become more valuable because there's less time, there's less of it. So that's why as we get older and as we accumulate wisdom over the years, or applied knowledge being wisdom, our lives become more valuable. And so our best investment is actually in other people.
So how do we take, because we're caring about money and making the best attempt we can to grow it, but then the people, how do these relate? How do these thoughts merge together? And how does Jabez Financial step in and help get people going in the right direction with this process?
Well, it begins with having respect, because it's not what you love that's drawn towards you. It's what you respect. I mean, if you don't respect your dog, it's not going to come when you call it. So when we look at we spend the best hours of our best years of our lives trading our time for money. And then when we take this money, it's not a matter of loving it because it doesn't love you back. What we have to do is respect the money by giving it appropriate assignments. And we want to treat those dollars with the same amount of respect that we would have for the portion of our lives that we traded to accumulate it.
Can you tell people, and again, I know every case is different, every person's desires are different, but what do you mean? Where does Jabez Financial help people with those assignments? How do they link them up with the right places to put it? How do you find out what matters the most for each person so you can help them assign it?
Right. So once we go through and finding out what someone's core values are and where they want to see the most growth, then what we can do is we can apply the dollars into a system that works. If you think about an airplane pilot, he has to trust his instruments because he may have the sensation that they're going up, but in actuality, they're going down. And so that's why they have to trust their instruments and trust their system. And so what I have here at Jabez Financial is a financial system in the sense that when adversity comes, we know where to go to get money, where not to touch it, where to let things continue to grow through the pain, and where we can say, all right, now this is a responsible place to pull my cash flow from. It's having the right systems in place that actually provide the security through whatever financial environment we're in.
And I think that, of course, security and all that these things can't be guaranteed per se, but you are able to manage and go, hey, depending on what somebody's appetite for risk is, or appetite for how much they want to grow or how much they're willing to, you can match that up with their desires in the best way. How do you find out what those desires are from somebody?
Well, when you're able to actually connect with somebody and establish a good relationship with somebody, especially because in my business, I've had clients for decades. And so once you thoroughly understand and can identify and connect with somebody and have that understanding, yes, we do want to consider somebody's risk tolerance, how they feel about the ups and downs. But as an advisor, as a fiduciary, and as much as I care about people's feelings, I'm more concerned for their well-being. And this is where there's the balance between risk tolerance and risk ability. And as someone's financial education increases, their risk tolerance will conform to their risk ability, and they'll start making wiser decisions, whether that wiser decision would lead them to being more conservative, or that wiser decision would allow them to embrace more risk for a higher, longer-term return.
And I think that's great. Now, do you have a question? Because you're investing in people, right? Your best investment, Jabez Financial, is caring about the person. You're asking the person to care most, not just about themselves, but the people in their lives. Is there like a specific questionnaire they fill out, or is it you and your team that just know really well how to actively listen? Is there an equation or a graph? I mean, I can think of all ways these go. I think about the personality tests and things that are very literal. And then I think about gut feelings as well, especially with some of these candidates or rather clients that you've had for decades. But as a new person, do they actually fill something out, or do y'all just sit there and listen and take great notes, or is it both?
Well, it's a little bit of both, in the sense that there's a million different questions you could put on a questionnaire, but only a handful of them are applicable. And that's where having the personal relationship and conversation becomes more important. And understanding that whether somebody puts themselves in a financial position that they feel most comfortable in, whether they have financial dignity or not, at the end of the day, no one cares. Just saying. All the responsibility is completely on them. I mean, look, I care. Right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, the consequences of their decisions, they have to live with it, not anyone else. So
it's not Glenn's house payment or Glenn's boat that's coming after, right? It's going to be,
So my job is ultimately to help people make better decisions for themselves. And in the process of making better decisions for themselves, they're in the driver's seat of their financial future. I'm more of a co-pilot, and I can help provide some wisdom along the way. And, kind of like and that's where I want to work with my clients. Just like if one mule can pull 1,000 pounds, tie two mules together and they'll pull 3,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's why working with somebody through these times brings out the best in everybody. So when I look at how we go about discovering what somebody needs to do and the kind of decisions they need to make, what I want to do is I want to provide the applicable information so that when people make a decision, they're not just making a decision emotionally, because, every bad decision that's been made has been made with an emotional component to it.
Oh, sure.
And so,
sure.
And your feelings can lie to you. Our feelings lie to us all the time. So we have to be able to extract our feelings, at the same time listen to our gut or our conscience. That's different. That's a different message. And sometimes we may, I was looking earlier today at this little meter that they have on MSN. What's driving the market? Fear or greed?
Yeah.
Well, which of those is good?
Yeah. Either way, you're in the red when it comes to character, I guess, in either of those. Hey, but before we wrap up, Glenn, do you have a one story of someone that you've spoken to recently that has had to toy with this and you've helped coach them through making the best decision? Maybe they are just approaching retirement. They're freaked out because suddenly they see their money be this real fixed thing. And just anybody that pops to mind that really fits into this idea of your best investment and grabbing your decision-making by the horns.
Absolutely. Actually, I could pick almost all of them.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Let's pick one good one.
Right. Well, she was transitioning into retirement, and she had worked with a financial advisor for the last 15 years or longer. And in that process, it had worked well. She had a really good relationship with him, and she was actually in a really good position financially and doing well. But there was this little question that she had in the back of her mind or in her gut saying, you know what? Something was telling her to explore what other information was out there. And she had enough wisdom to listen to it. And when she came in and we started talking about her situation and we got to review it, and you know what? The fact is she did really well. The investments that she had have performed spectacularly well. She had a good relationship with her financial advisor. And so when talking, I'm like, well, what sparked you to do something different? And she said, well, I just had this feeling. And sometimes that little gut feeling, that little intuition is what's speaking to us, that telling us we're transitioning into a different season.
Yes.
And so just like there's a time when you want to have a sports car when you're young, but then there's a time when you need to have a family car when you have kids. And then maybe you want a more luxury car when you go to retire. And so
there you go.
So just as our desires change, so having that sports car during our younger years, which I got to tell you, I really enjoy my sports car. But I also enjoy the luxury car too. So I like them both. It's our responsibility to pursue what we need next. So if let's say somebody's looking for a family car and they show up at the Ferrari dealership, is it the salesman's fault for selling them a Ferrari?
No.
Right. And so that's where it's like, but maybe that worked for that season.
Yes.
And we have to be able to recognize that throughout different seasons in our lives, different mentors will come in. Look, I had the best parents in the world, but they raised me from birth to when I became an adult and moved out at 19.
Time for different mentors, right? As
That's
you
right.
grow and they grow. Yeah.
I had different mentors during my adult years. And since both my parents have passed, I still have other mentors. So we've got to listen to our gut, be open to receiving some new information, and we can trust our judgment, knowing that if we've made good decisions in the past, we can continue to make them.
You mix that judgment and undergird it with some good financial guidance here, like from Glenn Johnson and his team at Jabez Financial, serving Southeastern Connecticut, or hey, anybody that goes to jabezfinancial.com. And of course, we're loving that you're listening here to the Manumit Podcast. Glenn, I hope you have a great day. This is some sage advice and look forward to getting to the next one.
Same here.
So be sure to bookmark and subscribe the Manument Podcast here on the ManumentPodcast.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Share it with a friend. Such good stuff. Food for thought, something to chew on here until the next episode. My name's Doug Turnbull. That's Glenn Johnson. You all have a great day.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.